base of the box. Seeing as how you've already removed all the lower branches, what a glorious sight that would be. Is it too late to do that now? You know we are more than happy to cover any extra costs for working on weekends. You are a jewel of a head gardener, and we remain thrilled with all your ideas and hard work. American Pru Parke and the famous Humphry Repton. What a pair! Here's to a fine Christmas for all of us. And just think, soon you'll be moving into your cottage. It's almost ready. Best, Davina and Brian. Oh, yes. We've decided to open the garden here at Primrose House on 30th July. I'm sure you'll have everything ready. It will be a glorious summer party. Chapter 1.
I'd say that'll do for today, will it, Pru?
Yes, Ned, that'll do for today. Ned adjusted his cap and knocked a clod of dirt from his wellies as he gathered up the short spade and garden fork. Ned kept himself as befitted a widower in his 70s. That is to say, his work clothes were always in good order, but Pru thought he might cut his own hair, as it usually stuck out from under his flat cap in uneven bits, like gray moss hanging off a tree branch. 3:30 on a mid-December afternoon. Pru glanced at the darkening sky and climbed out of the mud where she had landed after yanking on an ash sapling growing in a sheltered corner of the walled garden. She sighed and reached up to unclip her hair, comb it through, and reclip. One strand escaped again without delay. Her hair had always had a mind of its own, even now as a little more gray had slipped into the brown. In her earlyish 50s, she was still able to carry out most of the physical work of gardening, although more and more she appreciated an extra pair of hands. More than a month had passed since she began at Primrose House, an 18th-century manor farm near the village of Bell's-Ewe Green, and just a few miles from the spa town of Royal Tunbridge Wells. Much of that time had been spent getting to know the land, her new employers, Davina and Brian Templeton, her crew, and the historic plan laid out in 1806 by the famous landscape gardener Humphry Repton. The Red Book, the name Repton gave to the leather-bound books he created for potential clients, had been discovered just as the Templetons hired Pru as head gardener. The Earl of Lamerton had come across it in a box in one of the many unused rooms of the castle. Primrose House had been a manor on the estate. Davina had presented the book to Pru in the kitchen. Not the most formal of occasions, but Pru had felt the weight of the centuries on her when she held the thin book. She had set it down on the farm table and run her hand lightly over the cover. It was not as large as a coffee table book, more the size of an old-fashioned accountant's ledger. The red Moroccan leather had faded little, and the ornamental gold-stamped border still looked fresh. Opening the book to the title page, she had seen Repton's self-portrait, a small drawing of him surveying a landscape, and Primrose House in Sussex, a seat of William Michael Hamilton, Earl of Lamerton, in Repton's careful, scrolled handwriting. A page of introduction was followed by a page titled Situation of the House. Pru had trembled with excitement. The entire book was in Repton's hand and interspersed with his watercolors. It was a treatise on his landscape ideals. To remedy the great defect of Primrose House, he began. Despite what had gone on in the ensuing 200 years, it felt as if the great landscape gardener himself were telling her to carry on. Dozens of his red books were still in existence, some held by the original properties, and others in libraries or museums, but most of the landscapes retained only impressions of